What's up, everybody? Back with another Woodward Pistons. Today, I am happy to be joined by Chris Lebron of the Off the Ball Network and Off the Ball podcast. This man is a scout. This man does have quite a bit of service. One of the more, experienced people we're going to have on this podcast. Mr. Lebron was an agent advisor for sports management worldwide. He has also been a talent scout for the Prep Network recently. And again, he is the founder of the Off the Ball podcast, started in 2019, and then leveled up to Off the Ball Network the following year in 2021. Chris Lebron, thank you so much for being with us. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media and just anywhere online.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, Steve. You can follow me Off the Ball Pod. That's where I'm most active. I have my own personal, but I just started using my podcast handle for the last 3 years. So I'm most active on Off the Ball Pod. You can follow the network. I run Off the Ball Network, OTB_network on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube channel. We have a bunch of content we make there. But if you want to talk ball, anything, college, high school, recruiting, anything, NBA, draft, hit me up. Off the Ball Pod. That's where I'm most active.
Yeah, this man knows everything, high school all the way into the pros. And I just want to say, sorry to see your Knicks get bounced last night. So I know you made do a lot of Knicks coverage, and you're from Queens. Are you from Queens? I think I remember hearing somebody say that.
Yeah, I lived in Queens for like 4 years, and I'm in Staten Island now. But every borough has I have a little piece of every borough in my heart. So New York runs in my blood, hardcore.
Word. I know. I'm not a big city person, but there's only one city that I would ever live in, and it's New York. When I was there, like I just fell in love with it. The people, the food, the culture, everywhere you go, like it was awesome. I remember just walking through in Harlem, finding some random pizza place. Yeah, I love New York, man.
So diverse, man. It really lives up to all the big bright lights and all that, but the culture and all that, it's the dope place to be. I know some New Yorkers get we can get a little tired of it because of the traffic and all the all the other crap, but for the most part, it's a dope city to live in.
Way better than LA though. I'm like anti LA, so New York I'm New York all day.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about things from a scout's perspective, not just for the Pistons, but starting off with like, what does a scout's life actually look like, since you are indeed a talent evaluator?
For me, since I started doing, especially on the high school scene, it's how I've kind of developed and all. Like I've done independent stuff for the last few years, but I really wanted to get dive in and be able to evaluate at another level. I think for me, how I go about is not just on the court stuff. That's kind of the easy part. Evaluating a prospect, what they do on, but it's the other stuff. It's what they do pregame, how they're talking to their teammates, how they're talking to their coaches, their body language. What are they doing at halftime when they're getting ready to ramp up for the second half? Just seeing the little stuff like that. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people probably don't put in perspective. Obviously we want to know if this guy can shoot off the dribble. Can this guy, what does he get double teamed? Can they rebound, defense, all that stuff? But it's those stuff that it's just as important as what a player can do. So I've been able to really dive in more into that, and as we get into, we're in good weather right now, and try to get more into the gym and be able to talk to, these players, these coaches more in depth. I've had a few nice, good relationship with some players and all that, but I'm excited to getting more into the gyms and a lot of these circuits and over there, especially in the New York, Jersey area, and really, talk to them and see what they're about. Like I said, I've watched a lot of these kids, especially in the tri-state area, their games, but it's it's the getting to know them and all that and understand what they're about and all that. And like I said, like I mentioned before, it's the little things you don't really see on TV and all that. That's good, that you have to try to figure out how to engage with teammates and all that stuff. So that's the one part I think I've learned a lot more these last few months since I've been doing some stuff for locally over here.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about relationship building? Because I think like relationship building, not just between like you and the player, but between teams or like EYBL circuits, things like that. Like that is one thing about Scott's life that the general public, I don't think thinks enough about.
Yeah, so like I said, I've done NBA draft stuff, on my own, and I've developed relationships with players, just on my own, so I always have that, I remember, 2020, 2021, getting a lot of players, especially low level players that probably not getting the love they probably should be getting, and having them on my show, developing that relationship, talking to them more, not just about, like I said, the game, but learning about them, having people learn about this player and all that. And it helped a few guys, which is pretty cool. And having that relationship, talking to agents, talking to scouts, talking to coaches and all that, establishing that. And that's a very important part if you want to grow as a scout. Now I'm at the, I'm not saying I'm a full blown scout to that level yet, but I've been able to establish some pretty cool relationships and all that, and learn along the way that is a very important part of that, is learning about the player. Like I said, more than just what you see on the court or on YouTube, whatever. You know, you know that part. You get to know the little things. And I've been able to, like I said, have some really cool relationship with some players that, going through the draft scene and learning about that process is pretty cool, because you may just see that there's a combine and all that, but there's more to it, and workouts and how a day goes for a workout and all. I learned a lot about that in the last few years interviewing, prospects and all that. And like I said, I'm excited to get into that more with now on the circuit scene, maybe check out some Adidas camps I might be going to. So, Nike EYBL I've been into, talking to some guys, some top prospects and all that. So that's been that's been the cool part of doing all this, is and trying to get to that next level of understanding more of each level of basketball, because each level of basketball has their different types of how they go about things. So that's been cool so far.
Yeah, it's amazing, all the little nuance and all the different things again that people don't see. And especially the part about like how players treat other people, from like the minute they walk in a gym, maybe even security
Mm-hmm.
guards, not just their coaches, whatever, just people around them. That always says a lot about the character. And
Yep.
to me, when I see those things, it
100%.
makes me want to like bump them up more. I don't know if you've listened to Rafael Barlow, but he's been pumping up Gigi Jackson a little bit more because of those things, saying,
I've been on that. Me and him are the one few people that's still on that.
me too. Me too. Like
Yeah,
I've been saying all year, like, because I did a lot of pre-work into him in the off season because I didn't know anything about him. But like he was really self-aware in every interview I found, and he was always, self-aware of saying like, I'm the little brother here, and he used that word exactly so many times. It would be
yeah,
easy for him to be like, I'm your only five-star recruit ever. Like, just kick the door down, everybody get out of my way. And the
yeah,
things about the Instagram alignment stuff, it's like, to me, this is where like old heads come in, because it's like
yeah.
you don't understand that. That's one thing, and it's really not that big of a deal. Like he's frustrated that they're losing for one. Like, come on now.
I'm glad you brought that up, because he's a very polarizing prospect, right? And you have to put in perspective that he's supposed to be coming into his freshman season technically, right? He was supposed to go to Carolina, and I think he made the right move going to the other Carolina. And even though he was going to be the only guy there essentially, um, and they have Michi Johnson, who's good. He's actually playing in the combine, the G League combine, and I think he could be he'll be a pro somewhere, whether it's overseas and all that. So he was good, but essentially a team that's not has a lot of talent. And I think we forget that these are kids at the end of the day. And just like me and you, if we were to play at a local YMCA league and our teammates, we're passing it wide open, and our teammates are fumbling the ball, or they're not, getting to a spot or making hitting shots, we're going to get frustrated and all that. So, so I think we have to put that stuff. Yes, there was a lot of stuff on court, body language, all that you get that you don't like to see. But I feel like that's all coachable stuff. Then that's the thing we have to look at, it is that you if there's things that are coachable that I could fix, then that's okay. And I feel like some of his stuff, and some might say it's not coachable, all that, but I believe it is. He's a young player, and I always said if he interviews well, that's going to be the thing. If he interviews bad, then people are going to be like, well, he's not a good interviewer. He's not telling us what we need to hear and all that. And he struggled on the court at the times and all that. But you see the talent, right? You see all the, the off ball creation, everything, right? On ball, all that stuff, be able to the dribbling and all that. and you're just like, wow, like if we could figure him out, this kid could be a star and all that. But like you said, Barlow's been on him high. I've been still on him very high. You're still high on him. So there's a few of us that are still there. Because I've had talked to scouts and all that, and they're still like they're perplexed. They can't figure him out, and he gets them. And I've asked a lot of people who come on my show. I'm like, who's the one prospect that gives you a headache? And it's like GG Jackson and all that. And I could see it. I understand it. But I also understand the other side. And that's the part that I feel like I've learned a lot from talking to scouts is that part, is understanding those little things and all that. Not just what on the court and all that, but understanding like, he's young, the situation and all those things matter in college. Like we tend to just look at, a lot of people just look, oh, his field goal percentages, all this turnovers, this turn. That was a big thing. It's this turnover. But it's like, he had a lot of good passes. That guy just didn't finish, and it's like he didn't fully trust his teammates because they just weren't at that level. And at the NBA level, that's you're gonna have better teammates and all that. So he's definitely a prospect that's been very polarizing and all that. But he's interviewed well. I think Barlow had him on his show, I believe it. And I didn't get to watch the full of it. I saw some clips, but I heard good things and all that. So that's good. That just bodes well for him. He's a lottery pick at worst. He's a lottery pick. Like I watched the talent, and the draft is all about upside anyway, right? And you got to take a risk. Like the Bucks took a risk in back in the day with Giannis, right? That was a huge risk. It paid off. Now, obviously, there's been times where it doesn't pay off, but you look at him. I think he's a lottery pick. I think he gets into the right program. You could potentially get yourself a multiple time All-Star. I think the talent's there. I think get his head straight. He understood the situation and all that. I think he's going to be a really good player. I mean, he's probably to me the third most talented player in this draft.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. 6'9", 215, like with an actual handle that can create his own shot.
Come on now.
Yeah, like
Dave, that's a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a dream.
The other thing that Rafael mentioned recently was like, he's like, I've seen him training and I know who his camp is right now. And it's 3 or 4 people. He has a small circle. To me, that's always a positive thing too.
That's
because
a good thing.
You're all business. You don't have an entourage. You're like, I don't want anybody hanging on. I just want to focus on my craft. So that's another thing of like scouting.
100%.
Yeah. Anybody, not to say anybody with a big entourage is always necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something that you're like, there's too many stories of this going south.
There's too many people in his ear. That's the one thing you fear about. That's like we see when like Amani Bates, like Mikey was, some of these kids, like there's too many people in their ear and you want to be able to, you don't want that many people around him. And it seems like he has a good camp around him. And I think he's going to kill this whole off season. And people are going to just look at what happened and put things in perspective and be like, okay, well, the situation wasn't ideal. He's playing in the SEC. SEC was really good this season. Everyone knows that he was the guy. They're double teaming and triple teaming him. There's some things we need to work on, body language and all that. But, when you're going to go to the NBA, you're going to play a lot better players and all that. So we feel like that can be. So I think he's going to crush it. And eventually we're going to see him in the lottery for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So today we're talking about the Pistons. Speaking of the lottery, we don't yet quite know the range. We are filming this on May 13th. So I wanted to get Chris's perspective on a couple different things. So we're going to give a couple different ranges that the Pistons could be in. And I want him to give me 3 players from each range of like, okay, who do you think they should target? Before I do that, though, I want to ask him, as a scout, when you look at this Pistons team, I know you're well-versed in pretty much every NBA team. If you listen to this man on Off the Ball, you know how well-versed he is in the NBA. What do you see as the Pistons' 3 greatest needs?
Okay, so you guys need a lot, right? And so...
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I always like when they're honest because it's the truth. I mean, 17 wins. There's only been like 48 teams in NBA history who've won like 17 games or less, and this team was one of them.
It was a rough season, but you guys have talent though. So, so that's a good thing is you do have talent. It's just you guys are just crazy young, and we know that you need vets and a little bit, be a little bit older to win in this league. But I think the number one need is you need a wing creator. You guys need a wing creator. Like if you can get a guy like that, I think that will definitely help a lot, especially with the guard play you guys have. You get a guy because you got some potential with some bigs, right? Jalen Duren, Wiseman, who you picked up from Golden State. You got some size there. You still got Bagley. I still got a little like this much left of Bagley stock, but you got him. Obviously Cade. Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes. I know you now Pistons fans are very fond of Killian Hayes and all that, but he has his moments. But if you can get I think everyone thinks about Brandon Miller fitting into that, that would be an ideal spot. But definitely a wing is definitely what you guys need. Shooting, you guys need some shooters, right? Finishing, last in field goal percentage. I think you have bottom 10 in 3-point percentage and all that and points per game. So you guys need some shooting and all that. So you can add some shooting. That would definitely help. And you guys need to get some guys who can defend. You guys definitely need some defense and all that. Fourth to last in points per game and all that. You guys, it just felt like it was a turnstile at times. I know Cade not being there hurt. Because I feel like if he was there, but he missed practically the whole season and all that. So, to be number one, finding that wing guy. We thought maybe Sadiq would have been that, but it didn't really work out. They wound up shipping off to Atlanta. And I like Sadiq, but he probably wasn't, the ideal fit there. Like I said, shooting, try to get a couple shooters if possible. And there's some good shooters in this class, and then get some defenders. That's a lot, because essentially that's saying you need a little bit of everything and all that, and very important positions. But it's doable. It used to be a point in the NBA where turning around was really hard. But nowadays, with just the amount of talent we see coming in out of the league and all that, it's doable. And you guys have the talent and all that. It all comes down to health and all that. But wing creators, some shooting, and some defenders definitely are 3 priorities for Detroit this offseason.
So can I ask you one follow-up question of why wing creator? There are a lot of us who are saying they just need a wing who can have efficient offense and be a good defender. Why would you say wing creator though? Because that's different than almost everybody I've talked to on this show so far.
I just feel like you need multiple guys who can be able to create the ball, right? You got Cade and all that. So the more creators you have, and we're seeing just the way with a lot of these, if you don't have multiple, guys who can create, it's going to be tough to win. So I feel like if you get that wing, I think that's why Sadiq didn't really work out, because he was probably a wing that is ideal, but he just wasn't that creator and all that. He was more of a scorer. You can get that with all the multiple guys, scorers you have, and whatever offense you guys are going to run. I mean, you get a wing creator along with Cade and all that. I mean, you guys could do some really good things on offense as far as cutting and all that. And like I said, you guys got Duren, and you got multiple guys so you get another wing creator and all that who can be able to make plays and all that, score, obviously do that, but get another guy like that, man, that could be really dangerous for this offense. Like I said, you can get things turned around a lot more quicker than the record indicates.
All right, so now imagine you're in the room with Troy Weaver, the general manager of the Pistons, and I'm going to give you some ranges. I don't want you to just give us players that you're like, I think they'd be good. I want you to be banging the table these are the 3 guys the Pistons must draft in this range. If they don't get anybody else in this range, it has to be one of these 3. Let's start with picks 2 through 5. And I picked 2 through 5 because everybody knows who's going number 1. Whoever gets the number 1 pick, it's one.
I haven't heard of that guy.
So if they get anywhere between picks 2 to 5, who are the 3 that you're you have to come away with one of these 3 guys?
All right. So picks 3 to 5, I think Brandon Miller, right? That's the ideal, what he can do, shooting and all that. I know he didn't have the most ideal tournament run and all that, but we can't just nitpick on that. He was a young kid and all that. It was a lot to deal with this year for him. So had to carry the offense and all that, getting double teams and all that. But to me, that would be an ideal fit. Cam Whitmore, another one, strong dude, can get to his spots and all. Dealt with some injuries this year at Nova, but to me, I mean, if it wasn't for the injuries, we might be talking about him as the 3rd guy and all that. And I think eventually, the shooting will come along and all that, but he's strong, man. He's built like a tank and all that. And so I think him. And then another one. I don't know if this might be high. This might be high, but Taylor Hendricks, I think, would be and he's risen for a lot of people.
You've just made a lot of people days. Trust me.
He's risen on a lot of people's boards and all that. But I think a guy 6'8", 6'9", defensive versatility, right? We talked about we need defenders and all that. You know, and he seems like he blocks everything. Even if he's on the weak side, he's coming out, and you think you got the layup, and he's swatting it and all that. The shooting's coming along and all that. You get to the basket and all that. I think that would be another ideal fit, and I think he's going to keep rising and all that. People love the measurables. People love the intangibles with him. So that to me would be a good fit. Whether it's too high, that's another thing. But I think if we're just talking about fit, I think that's a hell of a fit for Detroit. So to me, those three guys, 2 through 5, would be perfect spots for Detroit if they have if they're inside that 5 range.
Yeah, like I said, you made a lot of people's days. The name I've heard the most when we've talked about like top 5 pick is Taylor Hendricks. Of like, why can't we talk about Taylor Hendricks? Do you think Taylor Hendricks is a top 5? So state that case of why do you think Taylor Hendricks is a top 5 pick? Because I don't think it's really that bonkers to think of that as a possibility.
For me, now I have him a little bit outside my 5, but if Detroit has 5 and they take him, I wouldn't be upset. I just think this is a kid that's he improved so much this season and all that. Has the size profile you need, 6'8", 6'9", long arm, 7-foot wingspan and all that. Improved so much with the 3-point shooting, high 30% from 3-point shooting this year, 38% in conference play too. So that means, because sometimes you see before conference play starts, those numbers lie to me. Those numbers lie. Like when you see a team, they're 11-0, it's like, well, who'd they play? And then they get in the conference play. Then they get the conference play. Then we're like, all right, well, now we get why, so, he's good in the conference play and all that. Can finish, with both hands and all that. Still a little bit raw, but still an ascending player that I feel like is just rising and all that. And I just love can shoot free throws. Like I said, defending, can like I said, I've seen so many times where he's on the weak side, he's blocking shots and all that. People are like, where did he come from? So I think he's just the length and all that. I just really love him. He's my guy. Like every show I've asked people who their guys, and they like, who your guys, and he's been on my guy, my 5 list since I watched him in December. Just one of my guys. So if he goes 5, I would not be shocked. I think I've seen people have him as high as 7, 6. So 5 is not, is not too crazy. And Nick said he'd be an ideal fit for you guys. He said he just keeps getting better and better and better. And I think he would fit perfect with you guys. You don't have to really set up a lot of things him for early in offense. He just could just eat off whatever. And with Kate and all that, I think he would do work. But yeah, I think I think he's just one of my favorite prospects. And I think he's going to keep rising and rising. And, I think he'd be a good fit for you guys for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm going to quiz you about 3 guys you didn't say in this range. Number 1 are the Thompson Twins. And then on top of that is Scoot. Let's start with Scoot, because Scoot is the presumed number 2 pick for almost everybody. Why did you not even think about Scoot for this, for the Pistons?
Okay. So Scoot, obviously he's my number 2 prospect and all that. I feel like there's a situation where Detroit will try to trade. And I've talked to a few people, who cover the Pistons and all that, and I've heard some people say, well, they might just say, hey, we're going to rock with Cade, Ivy, and Scoot if we get number 2 and all that, and then play it out. And then if we got to trade one of them after their season or the deadline, we might do that, or push Cade to the wing, be that wing creator that we talk about, and have. But the thing is the shooting. We just talked about you guys need some shooters and all that. So they're going to be the situation. I think people are going to want to trade up. So it's not like it's a year where there's not nobody want to trade. Teams are going to want to trade up. So I think that's a situation where I think just how I've been just talking to people, I feel like there's going to be a trade down situation. So that's why I didn't even have Scoot in my head. Is like, he's the second best prospect. But there could be a way where they could just rock with all 3. But is that ideal, especially with a young team? And I feel like they should probably trade down. I know Orlando has 2 picks.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. So I did an episode, the first one of this, with Motor City Hoops, and that's what we talked about, was just like a bunch of different trade down scenarios. And the more we've done this, it just makes too much sense, right? To where, like you said, it's not that he's a bad player. It's just like this is a bad situation. And Bryce Simon's thought on like if they played together, how would this work? It's like, okay, you start all three of them, and then 5 minutes in, one of them comes out, and then five
That's
minutes
what I
later,
talked to
another
Bryce
one
too.
comes out, and
Yeah.
then there's two of them on the court basically at all times. But then it just is a thing of like who ends the game, and it seems to me like this sets you up for like 2 or 3 years down the road. You eventually have to trade somebody anyway, right?
Yeah. And then you got to figure out who's going to be the better off ball player and all that. Because obviously, one guy has the ball in his hand. And it's just, I feel like maybe if they were a little bit older, if they were a little bit better team, maybe you could rock with that. But you guys won 17 games, so I feel like let's just be real.
Exactly.
It sounds good. If this is 2K, maybe you can rock with that. But I feel like they probably would try to trade down if they do get two. And like I said, teams are going to try to trade up. People want Scooter and all that. So, there's going to be suitors. So I feel I have just had the thought process that they're not even going to be at two. They'll trade down, and then they can probably get Cam Whitmore or Kendrick, maybe later at a better value, and get their player that they probably fits the team a lot better.
So what about the Thompson Twins? Why are the Thompson Twins not in your consideration for the Pistons at picks 2 through 5?
It's just so hard to evaluate them, bro. It really is. It's like a level of competition and all that. And it's kind of with especially with the men, it's the same thing you're gonna have to deal with if you were to have Scoot. The same situation. You need him to be an on-ball player and all that. It's going to be his best suit, so that's going to create another dilemma if a man was the guy. Now, Asar to me eventually is going to be more of a catch and shoot guy, but he's not a great shooter. Because he's not going to be a primary ball. Even though he could pass a little bit, but he's probably better as a secondary playmaker. And that could be, but you need more shooting right now, and he's not there. He's not developed right now as a shooter, and I just don't feel like you guys need another guy that you guys need somebody who has a clip, And I feel like it just doesn't provide a good fit right now with either one of them right now. So that's why they're polarizing prospects. They're good and all that. They have the talent, but there's just the Detroit team right now. Just a sore shooting is not good enough for me to feel comfortable, putting him out there right now. And then with the men, it's like, well, we got Cade, we got Jaden. Do we need another guy who struggles to shoot? Even though he's a crazy and maybe one of the best first steps I've ever seen, but he's not there as a shooter right now. And that's you kind of need some shooting right now, because you want to be competitive next year. You got Cade healthy, you're gonna be definitely way better than 17 wins. So you need someone who's going to be a good fit at that 3 spot, and I don't think, I think a man eventually he's going to need to be on a team that he needs the ball in his hand to, especially in the beginning, to create, because he's not there as a shooter. So that's why I haven't put a man or a Sar in Detroit's radar right now.
Yeah, it's a good point to talk about. Like even with a Sar, who I have a star number 3. But I agree, it's going to take a while for the shot to come around. But I've gone back and forth on him and Cam at 3-4 like so much. I pretty much just should put them together and say 3-4. But I mean, it's mainly that with Cam. Cam, you see, can fit seamlessly, right? You see the way he's able to shoot and has improved his shot over the last like 18 months to really put in that work, done it under live fire. I kind of buy into Asar a little bit more in that regard. I mean, he made 1 3-point attempt in the preseason. It would have been very easy for him to just be like, forget it. I'm not a shooter, so I'm going to stop. So I think that's the big difference to me and why I keep evaluating Asar over Amen. Amen will just turn them down and stick to what he's comfortable with, whereas Asar at least has tried other things out. And when he's gone into shooting slumps, he's kept shooting. That's the number one thing to me. If you're still developing as a shooter, if you don't understand that, like the only way to get out of the slump and the only way to get better is to keep putting them up, put it under live fire. And at least Asar has done that. So that's why I kind of buy into him more. But yeah, like you're totally right. If you don't buy into this of like, oh, they're going to be a good shooter, not even that they're going to be average, right? You have to buy into Asar being a good shooter, because Cade and Ivy need that more than anything else. You don't want them operating as floor spacers. That's not what their game is, and that's not where they're going to succeed. So, yeah, it's a fantastic point.
100%. Yeah, I think Asar is going to be more of like a catch and shoot at the next level, but he's got to improve the shooting, and I just don't feel like right now, unless you completely buy in that he's going to be a good shooter and by next, in 2, 3 years. I just don't think right now. I don't see it, right? So
Yeah.
it's just my opinion. So I feel like there's a couple better options that they can pursue.
Word. All right, let's go into lottery range. Say Troy Weaver does his wheeling and dealing like he always does, gets another pick in lottery range. So we're talking pick 6 to pick 14. Who are 3 people in there again that you're like, you have to come away with one of these 3 guys in pick 6 to 14?
6 to 14. Okay. So this is where the draft gets interesting because like the range is just all over like top 4 or 5. Then after 6 is like, all right, it's just a crapshoot. Like everyone that I know some people who have a player at 6 and the other person has them at 20. So this is where it gets interesting and all that. I, if it's 6 to 14, right? I mean Grady Dick. Now I wouldn't draft him that high, but I've seen people have him this high and all that. So, he fits that wing, that wing type that they need desperately. And the beginning of the season, he was the flavor, right? Everybody was on Grady Dick and
Yep.
all that, as far as the slash and the shooting and all that. Kind of got streaky towards the end and all that, and wasn't as consistent and all that. But I feel like he's a guy along with his size, and 6'8", 6'9". He fits. He's another person who fits, what they need and can maybe be that secondary playmaker, that creator that I was mentioning before. So Grady would be someone. Let's see who else I got. Grady would be a solid fit there. Let's see. Jordan Hawkins. He could shoot. He could shoot it with the best of them. He has a clip. It is how he gets open. He loves to. He's kind of not saying he's Steph Curry or Ray Allen, but he's kind of a Rip Hamilton. But he moves just like them as far as he's just gonna wear you out. So that's a guy that I feel like if you could get him there, that would be an ideal fit because he is another one of my guys I just love, and I feel like there's sneaky athleticism with him and all that, and I think he can. He was a big reason why UConn won the national championship. He can just fire that thing. Great range and all that. I feel like you add him with Cade and man, you guys can do good, and he can definitely improve, the shooting and all that. And another guy, man, Gigi. Let's just Gigi.
I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, Gigi. Why not? Like, if you buy into Gigi, if you think, all right, this kid in 3 to 4 years, he can be an all-star level talent. Then, in how many picks do you guys have?
I think they just have the top 5 pick wherever it lands, and then pick 31.
Pick 31. But like I said, there could be a situation where you guys trade with Orlando. Let's say, taking them in the 11 to 14, wherever Orlando's going to pick with that second pick. I think that Chicago's pick, that can, why not? Like in the lottery, like why not take a kid that could be an all-star, and you can, have him with Cade and Ivy and all these guys that you have, Duren and all that, and in a couple of years, if you hit, you guys gonna be, you guys could have something really special there. So yeah, I mean, Gigi in that lottery range, yeah, I think, we talked about him, and he's interviewing well so far. I think he's gonna kill it this offseason. He's gonna be a lottery pick. I feel like there's all-star potential with this talent. Yeah, why not? Detroit, yeah, take a shot at him. He could be another wing guy. I think we didn't see a lot of the passing and all that because he had to essentially be the guy to take over scoring. But I think there's some, there could be some secondary playmaking there with. I think that's in him. So yeah, I think Gigi definitely. So that would be my 3.
So why go offensively inclined? Because the ones I've heard too are people really arguing for like Rain Repair, Bilal Coulibaly, or even somebody like Anthony Black if he fell. Like those guys are all defensively inclined, right? Anthony Black has more in his game with the passing and the rebounding and getting a free throw line. But like, why do you initially go guys that are more offensively inclined? And even Jordan Hawkins, who's a good defender, but he's still 6'5", like kind of limited.
offensive league. I know we talked about defense, but you could find those defenders. I have there's a guys I like in second round that you can get that could fill that need. You know, today, it's good. Obviously, you need defense in this league, but guess what? If you're just a defender in this league, you're not going to play that much, right? You might play in spurts and all that. So you need guys that to score the basketball. And that's where and I feel like you can get those guys who can defend later in the second round or undrafted free agents and all that. To me, that's where the value of some of these defenders are in the second round of luck. So you can get those guys later, but you got to be able to get guys who can get a bucket and all that. And it's like I said with Hawkins, not the greatest defender, but I feel like he could be solid and all that. But I feel like you can get some of these defenders later in the second or late first, or definitely in the second round undrafted free agents that you could definitely get, and position those guys you just need them for 15, 20 minutes to guard and all that. I feel like you can get those guys a lot later.
Yeah, and also, can you talk about like the level of offensive creators Hawkins and Grady Dick are? Because we talked a little bit about GG already, the size, the shot creation ability, those combination there. He's the size skill guy of you just can't pass them up past a certain point. And for us, it's probably the lottery range, right? If he's still floating around there past 10, like you got to do everything you can to get him because there's just not that many human beings who've ever played basketball that have his natural abilities to put the ball in the deck and to score. But what also about Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins is like that? Because the thing I've consistently heard from every person that's evaluated this draft is like after the top 20, there is a massive drop off in terms of like talent and in terms of clear NBA guys. So why should you be like really chomping at the bit to get Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins? Because again, I think that's right.
You need shooting in this league to win. It's just that simple. You need shooting in this league to win. You need guys to be able to catch off the dribble and do it and create. And with Hawkins, especially with Hawkins, you get that. He was just consistent all year. And like I said, he knows to find his spots. He knows how to get himself open, and that's what I love about him. He knows how to get himself open and all that. So to me, that's very valuable. And that's why I feel like he's soaring and he's going to be in that top 15 to 20 range, and maybe even higher because of that. He knows how to get open. He's played high level basketball. He just, national champion and all that. And he's another guy where just shot the ball just as well out of conference than in conference. So like, to me, I like that. I like that consistency and all that. So to me, that's why I'm really high on Hawkins. And Grady is, he was a little bit more inconsistent. Like I said, he started off really well, faded a little bit towards the end, was a little bit more inconsistent, but he fits that profile that what Detroit needs and on that wing, wing, and he can create a little bit and all that. So, and he has the size, man. He's 6'9", 6'9" that could shoot it, and is athletic and can get to the bucket, when he can, that's what these league guys that he can cut and all that. And that's what the NBA needs. You need guys who can be able to get a bucket and know how to find a way to get a bucket, and Hawkins to me fits that to the T. That's why he's one of my guys. What I saw for him this year, it was just so impressive. And like I say, he's not a big dude and all that, but he was able to just find a way to get open, pick his spots, and then just know how to use screens well and all that. The little things, he did so well. That's why I fell in love with him.
All right, so let's move into the late first round then, where it is talking like 20 to 30, somewhere in there, like the end of the round. Since we've already been in the middle of the round here with the late lottery, let's talk about end of round one. Say Weaver can only get and deal for another end of the round pick. Again, top 20 is what most people have identified in this draft of like, these 20 guys seem to have really good talent. And then after that, it's like, we're less sold on the rest of the players in this draft. So he gets range right there where the talent level drops off. Who would be the next round of guys? Or do you think it can be maybe out to 25 or maybe out to 30 and there are other people out there that are undervaluing the guys after the top 20?
Maxwell Lewis. I think if he's another one. He
started off really going to have a fight probably here.
Maxwell Lewis was someone that I still loved, even though he was a little bit inconsistent towards the end, but wasn't a great team and all that. But he fits the profile what you guys need in a wing and all that. So to me, if he could somehow get him in the late first round, I mean, to me, you're getting yourself a tremendous talent and all that. His game is through. He could shoot it, just a bucket. Has a size 6'8" and all that, long wingspan and all that. Could rebound the ball and all that. I feel like you can get a lot of value with him if you get him that late. So Maxwell He's definitely. What's your thoughts on Maxwell?
Defensively, I don't buy into him at all. That's the thing.
Okay.
6'7", 195. Like, I just don't think that's the kind of player that the Pistons need.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talked about like conference play, how they shot it in conference play, Maxwell Lewis was terrible in conference play in terms of his shooting. He was 25.8% in the 17 games of their conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just could not find the hoop. And if you look at his shot chart, he only has one area in from three where he's red, and everywhere else he's just like shooting terribly. And it's
No.
like 45 point something percent from the right wing. Those are just two ginormous red flags to me of like, okay, as the year wore on and defense adjusted to you, you shot 25%. Like, that's rough. And then again, the shot chart is like, okay, you're dominant in this one area. So to me, that scouting report would be like, let him fire it up, keep him away from the right
Yeah.
wing, right? I understand the tools, and like, this is an NBA level athlete, no doubt. It's just he's somebody that the more I've dove into, there's more of these things in the profile along with the defense. And I don't know how to really factor in the like, oh, he's on a terrible team. For some scouts, I
Mm-hmm.
think it means a lot. For me, it doesn't necessarily, you shouldn't be the nail in the coffin, right?
No, I get you.
If you're the lead guy and your team is just that bad, it's hard. Because yeah, that team wasn't that great. They didn't teach defense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
so
didn't.
he's just somebody that I can't get behind because again, there's just too many red flags for me.
No, no, and you're not the only one I've heard say that. Because like I said, he was someone that a lot of
Well,
people were
also
really
too,
early on.
sorry, my bad. I don't even cut you off. He's another one.
Mhm.
If I had any influence on him, I would be like, go back because you could be like a top 10 pick next year if you just
Mhm.
iron this out and you're scoring just as much or better and your percentages are great throughout the year. Like, there's no reason he can't be a top 10 pick next year.
No, 100%, and he's gonna have that decision, and we'll see what happens. But I feel like they're going that he's someone that I feel like is still going to be in that first round, top 20 to 25 range, and all that. And like I said, there's a lot of talent there with him. And if they especially late, I think he's going to go in the range that he should be going, not like it was early on. So I feel like if he goes in that 25 to 30 range, that's a good spot for him to go. He'll get to develop, and be brought along slowly and all that. So I feel like that's probably ideal more than if he was early on the season hyped up to be a lottery pick. I think there's too much pressure and he wasn't ready for that. I feel like he goes late in the first round. I feel more comfortable. I could develop him and all that and work on some of the things that he needs to be worked on, especially defensively and just the consistency, finding his spots on the offense. So, but I still like him a lot. And I feel like in a couple of years you can get yourself a solid player with him.
So who would be the other two in the end of round one that you're like, they got to come away with this guy?
Andre Jackson, UConn. Just feel like he does all the little things. Feel like he's like that Josh Hart, that Bruce Brown type player that could just do a little bit of everything that you need. Like you saw what happened with the Knicks. They get Josh Hart and it turns around their whole season. They go from maybe we're going to be sellers or whatever. They buy in and just I mean we lost in six, but got to the second round of the playoffs, something we haven't done in a long time. Bruce Brown, look at the effect Bruce Brown's having with Denver right now. I mean, big reason why they're able to be in the conference finals right now. So I just feel like he's just one. And we talk about Andre Jackson, big reason why UConn won the national championship. He just does the little things and all that. There's things obviously he needs to work on with shooting and all that, but I just feel like he's so versatile and can just help to do multiple things on the court that every team needs that type of player. And I feel like when I saw him on the court, he was just doing everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's a guy you need on a team. Now, maybe late first, maybe a little too high. But at that point, whether it's that or the second round, I know you got 31, and we're gonna talk about that next. That he'll fit in that 31 range too. Take him there and just let him do what he's just gonna wreak havoc in practice. He's gonna make practice hard and all that. So I feel like I love Andre Jackson a lot.
Yeah, I'm 100% there with you. He's been somebody like I kind of flirted with keeping out of the
Mm-hmm.
top 58. But the more I've watched him, Eugene's nailed it on the head, though, Bruce Brown. And he's bigger than Bruce Brown and way more athletic than Bruce Brown.
Yeah,
Andre Jackson,
exactly.
6'6", 210. He's like Andre Iguodala level type of athlete, Andre
Mm-hmm.
Iguodala level type of passer and ball handler. It's just he can't shoot right now, right? And shooting's only one skill. That's the
Yeah.
one thing I try and like think for myself too a lot of times because sometimes we place too much of a focus on it. I know it's the modern NBA, right? And everybody wants to shoot. And I know 28.1% from three doesn't look great, but again, you're just focused on one thing. If you don't look at everything else to where like, hey, this guy can play power forward and be a weak side rim protector.
Yeah.
Hey, he can guard point guards. Oh, he can also run the point and dish out the rock and get guys
Mm-hmm.
easy shots. And by the way, he's a constant threat to put pressure on the rim. So yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Because again, after 20, like you can make a case for a bunch of different players. And if you're marketing Andre Jackson as like, oh, he's Bruce Brown, but with like Andre Iguodala's athleticism, there are so many playoff teams that would be like falling all over themselves to get this guy,
Oh
including
yeah.
Denver, who might just lose Bruce Brown this offseason, right?
Exactly. He's gonna want to get paid and all that. So they got to figure it out. And I'm sure they'll bring him back and all that. But like they got Christian Braun who could probably fit that role too if they do lose Bruce Brown and all that. But he fits that mold of just a connector. Like you put him in and he's not great at one thing, but he's just good at everything. And those players are very valuable in this league and can help you get to over that hump. So I love Andre Jackson.
Same, same. So final player at the end of round one.
Another player in the round one that I like, man, like I said, it gets there's just so many guys bunched up there. Um, that's I mean, like Kobe Jones too is another guy that could fit that. It's felt them always kind of similar and like in that Andre Jackson mold, you know. Yeah, that would be, yeah, I would go with Kobe Jones too. I liked him a lot. Xavier, 6'7", 6'6" type of player, kind of similar in that mold, So that's another player I feel like, and then at that point, like you said, it's to shoot whatever you talked about, shooting and all, but there's more to it, and especially when you're taking a player late first, second round, you're not looking for the perfect prospect, right? Like you are with potentially having a top 5 pick, you guys. So like finding guys like that can help build the rest of your team. And if you do get Wembayama, now you get those other players around him that can do those little things and all that. So try to get those Andre Jacksons, those Kobe Jones, to me, that could help, better the roster for sure for you guys.
Yeah, especially Colby Jones, like became a 3-point shooter this year, took the most
Mm-hmm.
threes he's ever taken in his career at 119, shot 37.8%. And then
Yeah.
this is a guy that consistently gets over 200 rebounds every time he's a starter as well
Mm-hmm.
at guard. So yeah, I agree there. Like maybe you're like, I don't know, but like you said, you're not looking for the perfect guy. You're looking for somebody
Mm-hmm.
that fills different things. And even if you don't buy into the shooting, like you can't deny he's put in work and gotten so much better over the last like year or
Oh,
so.
he's
Still a little bit
improved a
of a
lot.
concern from the free throw line because he's shot under 69% the last 2 seasons. But like again, just the level of shot making he had this year and his ability to improve at the 3-point line on a career high too. If it was, like he took less shots and the percentage went up, or if he took like the same shots, it's hard to sell that improvement. But if you're
Yeah.
taking way more shots than you've ever taken in your career before, you got to buy into it.
Yeah, he's a smart player too. So that's you need. You just need smart players and know when they're on the call what to do and all that. So he definitely fits that high IQ type of player. And like I said, with those Bruce Browns, those type of he fits that mold. So if you can come away with a player like one of these players you mentioned, Andre Jackson or Kobe Jones, you're getting yourself a good player that's going to really help and continue to grow this team.
All right, so now at pick 31, we've had Mr. Draft Deeper, Nathan Grubel, on talking all about pick 31. He gave us a couple names. Give us some more of like at 31, who do you think the team must come away with?
31. All right, another guy. So we're talking defense. Kevin McCullough with Kansas. He's a guy that you could probably switch, 1 through almost 5, 1 through 4 mostly, but some 5. Some you could do some 5. He's relentless defensively, and I know the shooting's not there, but we mentioned before it's not everything. I think he shot below 30% from 3, but I don't care about that. When I watch him he's locking people up. He locked up Keontae George. He locked up a lot of the best Big 12 players. He's just the guy I feel like gonna be a 10-year pro, and I feel like in this range at 31, go get him, and the shooting will come along. I think he could be a respectable 3-and-D type of player, but he's going to be able to play really good defense. That's why I'm saying there's some guys in the second round that you can get that you need defensive. Let's load up on offense first round, but the second round, let's get those guys. And I feel like he's one of those guys that teams are going to try to trade up for in the second round because I feel like he's just one of those guys that just he's going to be able to lock up. He does the dirty work and all that, and I just love him. As one of those second round sleepers that's going to make a team better because if he does all the stuff, all the dirty work, he's going to lock up people. So Kevin McCullough to me would be great fit for you guys at 31. He's going to play great defense, just be a great team player, leader, national champion, all that. So Kevin McCullough for me at 31 would be a good spot. Good spot for him.
Yeah, Draft Deeper talked about that too, of like he's somebody who I think is a dark horse that shouldn't be thought of because again, the shooting is really the only concern. This guy's 6'6", 205, somewhere in that range. Again, guards multiple positions, is a good passer, has a good inside the arc game, underrated mid-range shooter. I think he showed that a little bit more this year. But yeah, over 4 years was 29.8% from three. So he is another shooting concern there. But really, if you're talking about, like you said, just finding these defenders that are going to work, and they only have the one skill that you need to work on, I believe that these kind of guys like Andre Jackson, Jalen Clark, or Kevin McCullough, they're going to already be on the radar of the Pelicans, the Thunder, and the Spurs, the teams that already have, development time and experience teaching guys that don't know how to shoot or have terrible shooting form, like running them out in a form. And like, you need to start thinking about having that kind of thing. And the Pistons do have Coach Beeline. I don't know if he'll stay on after Casey and the staff move on, but they've at least had somebody that's been here who's helped to work on just looking at shooting and form. So yeah, if you do have that guy like a Fred Vincent or a Chip England, then you should have these guys in the high second round because their defense warrants that.
100%. Like I said, this is where you're going to be finding those guys. Those, like you said, Jalen Clark's another one. You can bring him up now. He's going to be, I think, he tore his Achilles, right? So that.
Throw that out. He's still in there, but yeah, he would be one in there.
Yeah. He'll definitely be someone that, is going to play lockdown defense and all that. But, obviously the health situation is going to be, interesting. But he's like, and those are the type of guys that you should be looking at that 31st pick. Those guys, like I said, let's load up on first round if, with offense, and then just try to find those guys in second round that can play defense and all that. But we're going to see guys drop that we don't think are dropping. Like there's always that happens every year. There's like, wait, Jaden Hardy dropped in the second round. Like there's going to be those guys. So like they could be, and just off like, what if a Bryce Sensabaugh drops? I know people are kind of up and down. He can, he's got a clip and all that. So it's like, that could be interesting if a Bryce Sensabaugh drops and all that. I don't think he will, but I've had people have him kind of rangy. People really like him or pretty don't. So second round, I've seen people in the second round or have him, in the 20s. So could he drop and all that? So like that's going to be another thing too. So like, and if he drops down in that 31 range, I mean, you got to scoop him up. Julian Strother's another guy that I like. He's a bucket and all that. Made some big shots in the tournament at that. Half court three. He felt like he hit. So there definitely some. There's going to be. I think this is going to be a in the second round where you're going to get some really good talent. Like it used to be years before where nobody cared about second round. It's like you might get one guy that could be something, and it's like now like some of these guys are first round, could be first rounders, and they're going to go in the second round and all that. Like so you can definitely get some talent and all that. But like, what if like Dariq Whitehead drops? Like, because there's people that even when he was starting to get healthy, they're like, I don't see it with him. What if he drops? So. And then you could scoop him up and he could fit in. So, there's going to be someone to drop. That's going to be the most intriguing thing is who's going to be that guy that does drop, and who's going to try to pick up a guy who's, if Dariq drops, that was a potential top 10 pick coming into the season. And now you can get him in 30s, it's going to be crazy. So, those are a few names that the 31 I could see potentially being there.
Yeah. Can we talk about Dariq Whitehead for a little bit? Because I think this might be a situation similar to Brandon Boston, but I think his talent level and like his fit is a lot better than Brandon Boston. So if he's at 31, why is he somebody that like you should just immediately call in, run up to the podium or whatever? Because that's what I would be doing.
Oh, you should be running if that's the case and all that. And he has all the talent. Obviously the injuries, he had a lot of injuries at Duke and all that. And and him trying to fit into the system, especially I remember going into year one with John Shire at coach. He's a different, so now you got John Shire trying to figure out how he's going to run his team and all that, and how they're going to run the system. Derek's in and out of the lineup and all that, and it's always tough for wings, score first wings coming in, to college basketball because you're probably used to having the ball in your hand in high school. Now in college, you're just not going to be the case. But if you just look at his game, just watch his game, it's smooth. It feels like it's an NBA game. Like he has the size of what you want in a wing and all that, but he just never got comfortable. And there's ways to look at it. You could be like, well, maybe he wasn't as good as we thought, or you could be like, man, just the system wasn't ideal, and the injuries, the foot. I think he had foot surgery and all that. So you have to put all that perspective, and if you buy into okay, he just had a bad year because of the injuries, and that really messed him up. And then, like I said, trying to get in this player and all that on their team, and then, just a logjam that they got too many. You can have your team full of 5 stars. So it's hard to figure it out. And they've had this before with Jalen Johnson. They had this before. With what's his name, AJ Griffin. AJ Griffin's probably the most similar situation because he had dealt with the injuries, top 5 prospect and all that. So that was probably the most similar. So I always look back at that, and then you see you see glimpses of brilliance like with AJ. So I don't know if he's as skilled, as AJ. But they have the injury history and all that, their wings and all that similar in size. So, if you think, you got to kind of look at that situation and see like, okay, maybe, once he gets fully healthy and all that, maybe it's next season, because maybe this year he's going to have to deal with, rehab and all that. So what is he going to look like in 2024, 25? If that's someone we feel like is going to be, he's definitely going to be a first, but if he's there in the 30s, you run and all that. You put him in the G League and all that, let him develop, and then you might get yourself, a nice piece in a few years that fits right what you need is in that wing position. So, I'm going to be interested to see what happens to Duren because the talent's there. It's a top 20 talent, but the injuries and all that is not going to hurt him. And he can't go back. He's in the process. So, this potentially could go in a second round. I didn't think that if you'd have told me this at the beginning of the season, I would have laughed at you.
Same. I had him number 3. I really bought into him a lot, but then all the injuries happened. Like I said, he was listed at 6'6", 180 to begin the year. And now you see him listed at 6'7", 220. I'm interested to see what his actual size is.
Yeah.
What his wingspan is. I think that also could help out a lot. If he is like 6'6", 180, probably drops him down and more of a reason to fall. If he indeed is like the Chris Middleton size, 6'7", 220, then he's just going to get more press and more publicity, I think. 100%. And why we're saying like you should run up to the podium. Even though he had all these struggles, he was still 42.9% 3-point shooter on 3.5 attempts per game. And then once the calendar year turned to 2023 and Dariq Whitehead got more shine and more time, he was shooting 49.3% from 3 on 3.8 attempts per game. It was like this guy almost never missed. He's near 50% from 3 on his threes. So
when they changed the offense, when they put Proctor on ball,
I know. Yeah,
with Roach, when they said, all right, we need Roach more off ball, we need Proctor at ball in his hand. That's when you saw the offense turn around. Popowski started playing better. That's when you saw the offense really click, and that's when they started going on their run and all that. And you saw glimpses of Whitehead that are like, okay, he's starting to get comfort. The injuries, he get a little this, but the talent's there. It's definitely there, and you just got to see what the injury is, and then like how much did the injury affect him and all that. But if he's 100%, are we going to get that kid that we saw in high school? And that's why you got to go back to the high school film too.
Yep.
You got to. That's another part of this is like, especially with guys with the injuries, is like, all right, let's look at what he did in high school, and let's see. All right, okay, and that's how you got to try to decipher, if he's worthy of being that high.
Yeah, and for somebody like you're talking about with Proctor is more of a creator, more of being able to get guys easy shots. With a team that has Jaden Ivey and with a team that has Cade Cunningham, this is the kind of guy you want that's shooting near 50% when he has at least one teammate that can get him open looks. Yeah, absolutely. And then Cade played with him at Montverde, so the Pistons at least have a little bit level of intel from former teammate to get an idea of what he's like.
Yep, for sure.
All right, let's move into the final tier. This is what I say: late second round, undrafted free agent. Some teams like getting late second rounds if they know they can get a guy like that will be drafted. There's the famous Austin Reeves story with us here in Piston Land, where he told the Pistons, "Don't draft me because I ain't gonna play there," because he wanted to go end up signing with the Lakers. Fantastic move by him, even though we dislike him around these parts. Man, I can't stand the Lakers no matter what. That's the one team that I'm just like, if you hate my takes on them, guess what? It doesn't matter to me because let's just say the only reason your team is good is because LeBron wanted a movie career. Otherwise, you'd still be in this perpetual cycle of the lotto. So whatever. Austin Reeves, I hope you lose in the
LA,
next
man.
round.
That's LA for you, man. Bright lights. People love that.
So stupid. Anyway, enough of the Austin Reeves hate. Let's talk about late second round or undrafted free agent. If they're like, okay, we can't get an extra second round, who are the guys late or on the undrafted free agent mark that Joe D needs to get on one of these phones here?
Another polarizing prospect, and his range could be deep, but I feel like he's probably gonna be second round. I think you try to look at Amani Bates. Another potential upside. I know he's very polarized and all that, but at this point, if you're in a late second round, undrafted, especially if he's undrafted, if that happens, I mean, that would be a crazy. When we first saw him to now, it's going to be crazy. But if he's in that late second, I feel like why not take a shot? Why not? Especially undrafted too. Why not take a shot at him? Another guy I like is he's a big and all that. Tristan Vucevic is another guy I really like.
Yeah,
A big that can
me
shoot it.
too.
I love him. I don't know why. I've been on the train, the Tristan Vucevic train for a couple of years and all that. A big that could stretch it and all that. I think there's more to his game than what we see. He doesn't play crazy minutes, but when you see him, it's like, man, if you give this kid more minutes and all that, he could really be something really good and all that. He could stretch it and all. He could shoot the three well and all that. So that's someone I think he's going to go higher, in my opinion. But I definitely think that he's very talented and all that. And another guy that I like a lot is what's his name? Oh, Arthur Kaluma too. Arthur Kaluma too. I know he's in the portal, so he has his option. But I think he's someone that could be kind of like in that Pascal type. I'm not saying he is and all that, but it's kind of in that mold. I feel like he got misused at Creighton a lot. They're another team that had so many guys, with Trey Alexander and all that. They had a lot of guys that they had to feed, Colburn and all that. So I feel like you get him in the second round, you develop him. I feel like you get a nice player too. So those are a few names that I feel. Jordan Miller too, I like a lot for Miami. Another guy that I feel like he's just going to be a good pro for 8 to 10 years. He's just going to do, like it's mentioned before with the other guys before, just going to do a lot of the little stuff and all that. Big reason why Miami was able to get Final Four and all that. He just does a lot of stuff, and I feel like, by him to being a solid shooter at the next level, 3-and-D type guy. I like Jordan Miller a lot. So those are a few guys that in that late second, undrafted that I feel like you guys bring in that would be good pieces.
Thank you for finally being the brave one to talk about Amani Bates. Amani Bates is somebody that, like, in the comments and in the live chats and stuff we have on this, everybody in Michigan wants to know about Amani.
Mm-hmm.
I have major concern everywhere, but yeah, you're right. In the late second round, if he's undrafted, why not?
Exactly.
And can you talk about like what team do you think might work best for him? Because what we talked about with Gigi of like he has a small circle and whatever, Imani's the opposite, right? It just seems like there's too many negative influences around him. Would Detroit be a good team to like kind of counteract that, or to be a situation to where it can handle that kind of player?
It may not be the most ideal fit because you guys are a very young team and all that. So his probably ideal fit is a team that has vets that are going to put him under his wing, make sure there's the right people around him, and tell him about like, hey, dude, you once the guy, you won covers and all that. Now look, if this doesn't humble you, then you're going to be out of the league in a few years because you're a second. And say he's a second round pick, like it's hard to make it to the top of the second round pick, so you need guys just to tell them the truth and all and get at him and just have him focused because the the talent's there. We know Amani he could score. You know, he's one of the best scorers in the country. You know, it's just getting it's the stuff that we're not seeing on the court. We saw it happen and all that. We need to see, hey, you need to be focused, man. Dude, you could have been a lottery pick at worst, you know, and now look what you are now. We got to get this ranked. You have too much talent to be this. So you need the team that has the right vets to get around them to tell them, okay, let's put this in check. You got to get you in. You need to be the gym. Now worry about the homies and hey, we need to be in the gym because guess what? You're a second round pick. You're on a first round pick. You can maybe get away with a little bit of stuff. You're a second round pick. You can get cut at any moment. All right, and then guess what? You're going to be in the G League or you're going to be in NBA. You're going to be not going to be playing the NBA. Right? This is what you dream for. Now it didn't go the way you obviously planned. So you need the right vets to keep them in check and all that to get him because the kid's talented and all that. We know he can do. He has great range, can shoot it, can handle, can all do that stuff. Obviously, there's stuff he needs to work on, but he's let that other stuff kind of hurt where he probably should be. Maybe he should be a first round pick at least, but he's let the off court stuff and then all that. So yeah, he needs to be a team that's gonna, that's going. I was going to say Memphis, but that's not the team anymore. Before everything last year it was, but now.
Oh no, he and Jock can go to strip club together.
Yeah, that's the wrong team he'll need to go for. But like, it's gonna be. He's another one I'm really interested to see what happens because the range. I wouldn't be surprised if someone takes a chance on him in the first round. I really wouldn't. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking and it's like, man, he's still on the board and it's 58 and I only think there's 58 picks this year because there's only 58 picks.
Yeah, 58. Year, so. Two got
forfeited. So, there's a chance we might not hear his name, and it's going to be a crazy fall from grace because this kid was supposed to be. I mean, it was him and Chet were the next two futures. And Chet was the number 2 pick last. He didn't play, but it was the number 2 pick in the draft, and Amani could be undrafted. And now that road is that much harder. And it's crazy that we thought this kid could be the number 1 pick, and now he's undrafted, and that road to the league is going to be that much harder. But he's going to get a shot. Certainly out of town, but
yeah. What do you think his role like in the NBA is eventually?
That's the thing. When you have a guy who's relies on having the ball in his hand, if you are a top 5 pick, you're going to be able to get that. But when you're undrafted or second round, guess what? You're not going to have the ball in your hand. So what else can you do? You're going to have to do the stuff that you weren't trained in, right? He's been trained his whole life to have the ball in his hand and everything go around him. Now, as a second round pick undrafted, you're going to have to do the little stuff that you weren't trained. So I hope that when he goes into this process that he understands that this is reality, right? You're in the process. Like you could be a second round pick and if you think you're going to be able to do everything you've been able to do at Eastern Michigan and all that, guess what? It's not going to be the case and all that. Now, eventually, if you establish that you can be a catch and shoot player or do the little things, and you continue to develop, kind of like Gilbert Arenas type, like develop like that, and then you finally get the keys. Event maybe, then you never know what happens in 4 years. But for the time being, when he first gets, he's going to have to do stuff that he wasn't, didn't really train for. So that's going to be interesting to see how he goes about. I hope that he's around the people that are telling him this. Because he needs to know that this is real, bro. You're not going to be able to have the ball in your hands every possession. The offense isn't going to run around you. You might be the 4th option on the offense if you're on the court. So can you deal with that mentally, right? And can you be able to do the little things that are going to be able to get you on the court? And then when you continue to get trust from the coaches, then you could be able to maybe be that second guy and all that. But I hope they're telling him that he needs to understand that because some guys don't, and then they're out of the league, because they don't learn that role that, hey, you got to start off somewhere. And then as you can continue to get the trust from your coaches and your teammates, and you'll be able to maybe be that dude. But, he's going to have to learn it. And it's going to be a humbling process for him. But I'm rooting for him, though. I'm 100% rooting for him because he's a talented kid. And I hope he learned from everything that's gone on. But it could potentially be a long road for him to being relevant in the NBA.
Yeah, definitely. I'm rooting for him too. And if I was his agent, I would really be lobbying for him not to get drafted at the end of the round too, if it came to that. And really, I would be trying to get him to three teams: Golden State, Miami, and the other one I just had in my mind and it escaped me. But definitely Golden State and Miami because number one, Miami has fantastic track record of developing, these undrafted free agent guys. He'll have teammates that have come up that way that can help him to be like, yo.
Oh,
this is what you need to do.
Jimmy gonna put him. Yeah,
Yeah, and
Miami
he
was
has both
great.
places. He has two guys that will humble him immediately, Jimmy, and then in Golden State, there's Draymond there to be like, dude, we ain't playing this. If you're not playing defense, like you're gonna be gone. And then again, he also has some undrafted free agent guys that are like GP2, to be like, hey man, this is what you got to do. I think it's a good mix of those two things of like, hey, we can help you out here, but also that you need the one vet. I'm just like, bro, this ain't gonna cut it here. If you want to mess around or do all these other things, like that's it. Like we can't have you here. Oh, Pelicans. That was the other one. Now I'm thinking about it. Pelicans, because Jose Alvarado, they had Najee Marshall. I think they started Kendrick Williams. They started his development there. They've had again another track record of undrafted guys, and they also have a clear pecking order there. And I know Herb Jones is still young and not like that, but they just have a teammate of like, look, this is the level of defense we would like for you to get to, or at least commit to on that end. So I think New Orleans, I'd really be lobbying if I was his agent to try and get him to New Orleans, Golden State, or to the Heat, because again, they're committed to whoever they bring in for their undrafted free agent guys, and then they also have like these veterans and other people there that can help them out. So
yeah, especially Miami. Miami would be really ideal because they could use some more youth infused into that team, even though they're in the conference finals, but they could still use some more youth in that. And if they get him, he's gonna have to buy in. He don't buy on day one, he won't make it. So
yeah,
what better situation for him, and he'll get humbled and all that. And
yeah,
but they'll
Miami's also done a fantastic job of getting undrafted free agent guys who like you didn't think would work out defensively, like Gabe Vincent or Duncan
exactly
Robinson, and just finding a way to make it work.
to buy into team defense. Yeah, that's all you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you again to Mr. LeBron for coming on, dropping all the knowledge he can on us. It's always welcome. Happy to have you. Hope to have you back again in the future whenever we're doing previews or whatever else you want to come to. You're always welcome to come back on. So again, let the people know where they can find you on podcasts, on YouTube, and everywhere across the internet.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me on. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a while, so happy we were able to collab and do this. Like I said, you can follow me at Off the Ball Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow the YouTube channel Off the Ball Network. That's where I post a lot of the shows. Follow my podcast, Off the Ball Podcast. Also got a college basketball recruiting show that I do with my guy Kev Lucas. Get a Bucket Podcast. We just did a show 2 days ago, so check that out. It's available on all podcast platforms and on the Off the Ball Network YouTube channel. Check out Off the Ball Network. We're active on Twitter, OTB_network on Twitter, offtheballnetwork.com, and Off the Ball Network on YouTube. Give us a like, sub, and all that. But man, appreciate you for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Last question for you. What's the next move for your Knickerbockers?
Oh man, tough. It was tough. I really thought we would have our way with Miami. I really did. The way
Yeah,
we
I
saw
thought
them
if
in the
Jimmy
regular
cooled off,
season.
that was going to be it, right?
And Jimmy didn't really do Jimmy like he wasn't Jimmy like he was in the Bucks.
Yeah.
So if I were to tell you that, you probably say, "Oh, the Knicks probably won that at 5 and 6." But it was the little things we didn't do. The boxing out and the offensive rebound, second chance points, is stuff like that I think cost us. But I'm gonna look at the other way. I didn't think we'd be in the playoffs. I thought we'd maybe a play-in team. I thought we'd continue to get better, but I thought we still have things to work on. But to get in the second round of playoffs and it's still impressive and all. But some moves need to be made. We got to figure out the whole Randall stuff because he did not play well. I know he got his ankle was banged up, but he still played and he didn't play great. And we kind of need to figure out that if he's that dude. And see if we need to upgrade and all that. RJ Barrett did show up in this game, and he's kind of a predictable player as far as his game, his skill set, and they just gave him a new contract, so They're gonna have to figure that out. So Josh Hart's a free agent. They got to figure that out. They don't have any picks right now. So unless the NBA gods bless us and Dallas gets, we have a top 10 protected pick from Dallas, unless it's 11 or up, Dallas is going to get that pick. So, we're kind of, we do have a lot of picks, but none this year as of now. So, but if we do get that pick, it could change it. That could be a game changer and help us maybe get a piece, maybe, how NBA players are, someone's going to be disgruntled this offseason, and maybe, getting that pick from Dallas is what sets us up for that. So, the lottery is important for us, even though we don't have picks and all. It's important for us. It's important for Dallas, so it could really swing one of our teams going the other way. I mean, Dallas doesn't get this pick, man. They're kind of screwed. So we'll see what happens. But overall, good season for the New York Knicks. Wish it would have went differently. It didn't, but made the playoffs. Went toe to toe with a good team in Miami, and future's kind of bright. Brunson was tremendous this season. Didn't expect that. I mean, I thought he would help solidify the point guard position and improve and be solid, but I didn't think he'd be. He probably should have been an all-star. Probably should have been all NBA. So he got probably screwed out of.
Probably should have been the most improved player of the year.
Probably should have been most improved. Like there's a couple awards that he probably should have won and all that, but we don't know the definitions of these awards anymore. So, good, great. He had a tremendous season. He put his team on his back, especially in this round. In first round he did, and then this round too, the last game. He's the reason why we even in the game. So, overall it was fun, man. It was a fun season. When your team's in it, you know how it is with Detroit. You guys have been slumping. The Knicks. We've not a lot of good years. But the last few have been better and all that. So, but it's just good to know the team is going on a good path and all that. And if the ping pong walls go all the way, maybe we can have another pick and definitely make something shake this offseason. But good season, man. I'm still proud of this team, and disappointed, but still proud of them.
Yeah, it seems like they're still like one piece away from making it to the conference finals, or even making it to the NBA finals. It seems like Randall and RJ are the two that. Something has to happen there, right?
They're not very high on the Knicks fandom right now. RJ used to be a really Randall's always been
yeah. Knicks fandom. What do you mean? His wife loves the New York people.
Yeah. God, yeah. And then RJ has kind of been a fan favorite, but I think after this, because he was having a pretty good postseason, but when you don't show up for a game that you need to win to force a game 7, I think he had one basket. So.
What's up with him and Tibbs too? It seems like Tibbs doesn't like him at all anymore.
The inconsistency, man. It's just and his defense wasn't good this year.
Yeah, his defense really fell off. That's surprising to me.
Defense, and if you don't play defense with Tibbs, you're not playing. I don't care. Like he's big on defense and all. That's why you see IQ playing, because he was playing defense. And that
man, the IQ is like the most underrated player in the league, I think. Like his defense and his shot making ability.
Yeah, and he rebounds the ball well for a guy who's a small, 6'2" guard. So if you don't play defense with Tibbs, you're not going to. But there's a lot of things they got to figure out. They got to figure out, long term if Tibbs is really the guy and all that too. That's another thing, because we know how Tibbs runs in small portions. You can't have him there too long. So they got things to figure out, but overall great season, and interesting to see how they go about this offseason, because there's a lot of directions they can go.
Yeah, absolutely. So rooting for Brunson, rooting for Tibbs. Thank you so much again for Chris Lebron coming on again. Follow this man everywhere you can find him, and we are out of here.